This video is for direct variation. So direct variation are formulas or equations that are in the form y equals kx. And so what is it? And so this is a linear relationship in which the ratio of y to x is a constant k. So guys, all k is the slope, and it's also m. So it's the same thing, we're just calling it something different. So some equations, y equals 5x, y equals 1/2 x, y equals f. Anything that looks like this is going to be a direct variation. The graph is going to go through the origin. And then, so a table would look something like this. And what gives this away that it's direct variation is this right here. X and y are both 0 at the same time. All right, so the bottom of this says, tell whether the equation, table, or graph represents a direct variation. So number 1 is y equals 2x plus 1. So no, this is not direct variation because of this plus 1 at the end. Number 2 is y equals 6x. So this is direct variation because there is nothing added or subtracted to the end. All right, number 3, bottles of soda to people. So remember we talked about y over x. You could do this in the last one. So this is y, this is x. So if we take these and we divide these, so 8 divided by, oh, I did that backwards. Hang on. X and y. So if I take y and I divide it by x, I get 4. And if you do it for the next one, 16 divided by 4 gives you 4. And 24 divided by 6 gives you 4. So as long as that constant stays the same, then you are dealing with direct variation. So the equation here would be y equals 4x. And so yes, this is direct variation. You can also put this in stat in your calculator and do a list and then do linear regression on it. And if b equals 0, then you know you're dealing with direct variation. So on this next table, you could do the same thing. You could do y divided by x. So if you did 5 divided by 1, you would get 5. And then if you do 10 divided by 2, you get 5. But if you do 15 divided by 4, you're not going to get 5 this time. You're going to get 3.75. And so as soon as that changes, you know that you are no longer dealing with direct variation. So the equation here would be y equals 2x plus 5. All right, and so now our graph. So again, if it goes to the origin, then this is direct variation. If it does not go through the origin, then this is not direct variation. All right, and on your second page of notes, it says y is m, now k. So graph the equations below in your calculator, then look at the table. And so when you look at the table, you notice that 1/2 x is just the slope. And then you notice here that 1/2 is still the slope, but it's a constant ratio between y and x. So again, it's the same thing. M and k are the same thing. We just use m in a non-proportional relationship and k in a proportional relationship or in direct variation. So solving with direct variation. A direct variation is a linear relationship in which the ratio of y to x is a constant, k. In a direct variation, y varies directly with x, and you're going to see that phrase a lot. And so there's two ways to find k. You can do k equals y divided by x, and then your equation is going to look in the form y equals kx, where k is the constant of variation, and k cannot equal 0. And so k is the slope without a b, unit rate without a b. The y-intercept is 0. So our first example here is a graph. And it says the distance that a bicycle travels varies directly with the number of rotations that its tires make. Determine the distance that the bicycle travels for each rotation. So what you want to do is get pretty points off your graph. So one pretty point that we have is here at 0, 0. Another pretty point is at 1,80. And then finally I've got one way up here at the top, and that's 2,160. So if you do y divided by x on each of these. So 80 divided by 1 is 80, 160 divided by 2 is 80. So your constant is 80. And so your equation would just be y equals 80x. There's no y-intercept. So on this next one, this table, it says, what is the constant of proportionality? So to find the constant of proportionality, that's k, you're going to do y divided by x. So time is always an x because time is not dependent on anything. So if we do 35 divided by 30, we're going to get 7/6. If you do 70 divided by 60, you're going to do 7/6. 105 divided by 90, you're going to get 7/6. And then 140 divided by 120, you're going to get 7/6. So I've got a constant rate here. So y over x, again, was 35 over 30. If you simplify this, that's 7/6. So 7/6 is your constant of proportionality. So to write the equation, you just tack an x onto the end of it. All right, the next example, if y varies directly with x and y equals 36 when x equals 30, what is the value of y when x equals 40? So really what we're doing here is the tic-tac-toe or the hashtag method. So we've got an original ratio, that's what the problem gives me, and I'm looking for my new ratio, my new values. And the two things I'm comparing here are y and x. So the original y that they give me is 36, and that matches up, it says when x is 30. So the original x is 30. The question says, what is the value of y, so I don't know what y is, when x is 40. And so again, to solve these, you always go diagonal, cross multiply, and then divide. So 40 times 36 divided by 30 would give you 48. The next one says y varies directly with x. Find the missing values. So again, these are all ones that you can use the hashtag method with. So the original values, the new values, and we're comparing x's and y's. And it doesn't matter which way. If you want to put the y on top every time, just make sure you're putting the right number in the right place. So for my original, my y is 10, my x is -4. So this one would be my new. So the x is 2, and we're looking for the y, or you can put a question mark there, whichever is easier for you to remember. So again, you cross multiply and then divide. So 2 times 10 would give me a 20, divided by a -4 would give me y equals -5. And so you can use the hashtag or the tic-tac-toe method on the rest of these. So in this one, x would equal 2 and y would equal -5. And then finally down here at the bottom, the table shows that the number of gallons of water used to wash dishes in a dishwasher varies directly with the number of loads of dishes washed. How many gallons of water will be used to wash 13 loads of dishes? So again, this is another one where you can use the hashtag. And so I'm going to go over here to this next page. And so we've got the original and we've got the new. The two things we're comparing are number of loads and number of gallons. And so for your original, you want to pick a set where you've got both numbers. So we're going to pick this one, 8 and 104. So 8 loads, 104 gallons. My question asked me how much water will be used to do 13 loads. And so again, here you would cross multiply and then divide, and you would get an answer of 169. And then finally, a runner burns 100 calories for every 15 minutes spent running. How many hours of running would it take for a runner to burn 600 calories? So the other way that you can set this up is as a proportion. What you have to make sure that you're doing though is that calories, the same thing, are listed together. So calories are both on top and then minutes would be on the bottom. And again, to solve these, you can cross multiply and divide, or you can use the butterfly method. So here's how the butterfly method works. So first things first, you draw a butterfly, and then you're going to cross multiply. So 100 times question mark, and that's, in these I like to use an X because it's more familiar when you see it. So 100 times X gives me 100X, and then we would do 15 times 600, and that would give me 9,000. And then you would have an equation to solve. So to get rid of the 100 away from the X, you do the opposite. So the 100 is being multiplied, so you would divide both sides by 100, and you would get an answer of 90. But that's 90 minutes. So remember, we put minutes down here at the bottom. If you look here, this says 90 hours. So the number is right. So you've got to change this into hours. So 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So if I would subtract 60 from this, I would be left with 30 minutes. So I know I'm going to have 1 hour and 30 minutes, and 30 minutes is half an hour. So F would be your answer there. And so that's it for this video.